Good morning, my name is Graham Gordon Thomas, and I'd like to say a few words about the amazing stones and architecture that are attributed by some archaeologists to the Incas up in Cusco and in Peru and all the different places in Bolivia and all the different places around the world. And there's a direct connection between the styles of stone making, of stone shaping, all over the world. That is a common factor, and there's enough evidence to suggest there's a common style and culture, and I mean by culture, the culture of stone cutting. That's a culture in itself. A building style will come about because of the culture of a tribe, what eventuates into a nation. Like the Chinese have got their building styles, the Romans have got their building styles, the Arabs have got their building styles, and they're quite distinct. And when you travel around the world, you see these different building styles, and the styles you see what the Catholic Church have built in Peru are very lesser versions of what the Romans actually initiated into the building systems. So we can see the difference between why some cultures, different cultures, have different styles of building and shaping buildings. It's reflected in the way they feel in themselves. Now, if there's a worldwide culture prior to this that cut stones and shaped stones in a similar fashion all over the world, from Egypt to Mesopotamia to India to Peru and Bolivia and Mexico, wherever, and on Easter Island, wherever it is, then we have to admit there's a coincidental worldwide culture of some unknown origin and unknown departure that built these things. Now, I've been a mason from when I was 15 years old, 16 years old. I began to learn masonry in the furnaces in Australia, which there is called refractory masonry. So I learned to shape stones and learn a little bit about industrial complexes. I agree with Brian Forster that up on Puma Punka, and I haven't been there yet, I agree with him. It looks like an industrial site. I'm going to have a look and examine the H blocks, because I'm sure they are something to do with the power source because of the way they're shaped. There's something about the shapes of the blocks that are very amazingly difficult to understand. How they set out those big walls in Cusco, how you plan ahead for all those different shapes, all those variable differential shapes. How do you plan a wall like that? Now, I can plan on I can certainly set out a pyramid. They're not that difficult to set out, just square a circle. But those walls, setting them out and planning ahead for them is extremely beyond, well, it's beyond the ken of mortal and men these days. Because each block, not only is it shaped perfectly within itself to fit around all the blocks surrounding it, so it may have 8 sides. That means every block around it is cut accordingly to that block. Now, how you do that, I do not know, and no one knows. How do you plan for that? So therefore, there's obviously a total different understanding of physics involved within that system. As far as the H blocks are concerned, upon Bolivia, where one suspects that the site wasn't finished, this is a thing that I suggest it wasn't finished before a catastrophe came along and stopped the people building it, whether they were. There's indication the site, it was an ongoing process. But also, their mathematical systems, building such the blocks what are such regulated in size, and they look like they're prefabricated. It's somehow maths has been applied to frequencies, and that somehow has then allowed a machine of some type to clean out all the stone, what is not required, the excess stone, to create the shapes, the internal corners, perfectly done internal corners. You can't do internal corners if the consistency of not having any chisel marks or cutting marks in those corners is an indication of a mathematical process involved, where a program, they want the machine, they want the shape of stones like that, they have a sort of a program, and then they program that into the machine. It's mathematical, and it uses a whatever the program that is to somehow use atomized, I suspect, atomize the stones, because there's the lack of debris. It's the lack of debris from cutting such stones. You will be definitely, wherever you go around the world where you see Aboriginal sites, which I've inspected quite a few, where they cut stones, there's always lots and lots of debris. Where anyone cuts stones, they will tell you to cut stones and make arch bricks, there are lots and lots of debris. There is no debris. I mean, it could be under the swamp and under all the clay that needs to be dug to find out. But there is no indication of any debris around from cutting in the H blocks, which says and because there are places in the world, in India, where there's amazing tunnel systems that someone's put into the rock, it suggested that somehow a mathematical system was used with some sort of machine which they atomized, actually atomized it, it tuned into the frequency of the rock, and it atomized the rock according to the program. And that's why there's no, where's the debris? Where's the big question is, where is all the debris of all these places? Where is it? There's no evidence, there's very little evidence of any cutting, any offcuts, or pieces of stone, what are chipping of stone. That is, where is that? That's the evidence. If you find the evidence how the stones were chipped, you'll know how they were cut. It's very, very simple. So I'm going to go to Peru and of course and walk up to Machu Picchu and have a look at this, because I want to explain, I think I know what the catastrophe was and what caused it, what changed the human progress, because these people were, whoever they were dominating the human race. They were the dominant factor on the planet until the global catastrophe happened and basically wiped them out. And the reason why they wiped them out is not that difficult to understand. If we had a global catastrophe now and a big tidal wave and wiped out all the cities and all the people with the technical know-how, if you wipe them out, maybe it made them famine, maybe it made them weak, they couldn't eat, whatever, or maybe some of them left and they said, well, and they took off, and that's another possibility, that they couldn't stay. But if you destroy the means, the knowledge, the people who had the knowledge may have been very few, even amongst all these people. The people with the core of knowledge may have been only a few people. If you destroy them, well, it makes it very, very difficult to start up again. The fact is that somehow civilization, as it's called, or the organisation of people to be involved with building and cities, began sometimes about 5,000 years ago, or thereabouts, and that's the new start, if you like. The new start is the old start, and then there's a new start. We live in the new age now. There was some people who hid in the hills, in caves, and hang around there and passed down some knowledge, and then they came out at some stage when it was okay to do so, and then began to teach the skills of farming and agriculture and horticulture into the people of the world again. And that's because that all was spontaneous all around the world at a similar time as well. And so there's a great mystery there that cannot be solved, and maybe one day it will. But one suspects also, maybe I'm totally wrong, in what Nikola Tesla was sort of saw about energy, these people who shaped the stones, built the pyramids, built the walls at Cusco, these people somehow understood energy like Tesla did. He had another insight into energy. And they had another civilization what wasn't into commercialization of everything and banking and all stuff like that. And that the idea of banking and controlling currency flow changes the power systems and what's the power all about. The power is all about controlling the currency flow, and everyone gets the Pharaoh syndrome. So it's a big house and stuff like that. And that's a different. We're in a different cultural zone, if you like, all around the world. Anyway, that's just a few insights. Whoever built those stones, we're going to say it was beyond any human alive today. And archaeologists are wrong in one specific reason. They can't prove, how did the Incas lose the skill? How did the Incas suddenly lose the skill of moving those giant stones? How did they lose that skill? Surely some Inca, when the Spanish arrived, the thing about cultures, cross diaspora of information, which has advanced human society technically for a very, very long time. If the Spanish knew the Incas could move these big stones and shape them, they would have captured that. That's the most valuable. The gold is valuable, but having that technical knowledge is far more valuable than gold, because gold will buy you influence. Having that technical knowledge is real power. That's a real power, because that gives you power in defense, in attack. It makes you most formidable military systems in the world. And because if the Incas obviously hadn't, they'd lost, they never knew how to move those big stones and shape them, because if they had, that's the first things the Spanish would have grabbed, would have been the people who could have done that. You don't kill the people. It's not witchcraft. You see someone moving stones, you think, well, it's a bit dodgy, it's not godly, whatever, but you want to know how they did it, and that's the thing you capture. And that's the thing what says the Incas did not shape the stones, that the Spanish did not witness anyone shaping those stones, and if they had, they would have captured them, because that's far more valuable than gold, because then you can use the gold to then develop the financial system to create this new and advance this new technology you've just discovered for your own sources, for your own reasons, because that's what the Chinese and everyone else has done from Western technological developments. Everyone else has adapted it. That's the evolutionary factor, the cross diaspora of evolutionary of cultures, so they have progress in a technical sense. Anyway, if anyone watches this, I hope that gives some insight to some ideas, because we have no bloody idea whatsoever about the Incas and the shaping of the stones. Thank you.